The holiday season is in full swing, and if I'm being completely honest with you, I do have a reputation of being a little bit of a Grinch. Not only here on this channel, but also in my personal life. My friends and family will tell you, yeah, Shelby, not the biggest fan of the holidays. If you didn't already know that, you might be new here, and I would love if you hit the subscribe button and stick around so that maybe the reason that I don't love the holiday season becomes more apparent to you, okay? My reasons for not loving the holiday season start with the fact that I'm a fall girly and I live in Austin, Texas. So fall for us doesn't really start until everybody starts talking about Christmas. And basically for me, we just skip right past fall, and I hate that part of it. But the part I hate about it even more, and which you would learn if you have seen any of my content on the internet, is the way that consumerism has absolutely captured the holiday season. And every year it feels like the holidays are starting earlier and earlier, and that's not by accident. That is literally because there is billions of dollars funneled into the marketing as to why you should love this time of year and why the way to celebrate this time of year is to buy more stuff. And as an environmentalist who knows that consumerism is at the root of literally every single environmental problem that we face, I hate that. I hate the fact that these seasons that I feel should really be focused on slowing down and spending time with friends and being thoughtful and being grateful has been turned into a season of hyper consumerism. And you know what? I've made it my mission on the internet to tell you why consumerism shouldn't be the basis of all of your joy, because there are plenty of people on the internet who are putting that message out there, who are telling you to buy more stuff this holiday season, who are hoping that you will click a link and buy something right now to help make them money and help produce more and more consumerism and waste and environmental destruction around the world. There is no shortage of that type of content on the internet. So I think it's only fair that there is a part of the internet you can come to where they're going to tell you the opposite of that. They're going to tell you to do something else. They being me. I'm going to tell you ways to celebrate the holiday season that don't have to do with overconsumption and hyperconsumerism. I want you to really try to comprehend what I'm about to say, but it is estimated that between November and December in 2025, $1 trillion will be spent on holiday consumerism. To say consumerism ramps up this part of the year is an understatement. It is massive and it is destructive. Now that's from the retail side, the consumerism side of things, if you will, but there's also the massive increase in food waste this time of year. Food waste is already massive in the US. Around 40% of our food that is grown goes to waste, which is such a shame when we have people experiencing hunger, not only in the US, but around the globe. And then during the holiday season, that ramps up by another 25%. And that's what really bums me out about the holiday season, is that it's meant to be a time for being generous and being giving and being grateful and sharing time with your friends and family. At least that's how I prefer to look at it. But it becomes this way of overindulgence and over consumerism. So I do have a graphic that I made once that like helps people understand how many portions you should be making for certain group sizes. I host Friendsgiving every year, and that guide I looked up for my own good and for my friends when we're making it, so that we're not making more than realistically we can all consume. And everybody loves leftovers. So if you will eat leftovers and the amount that you will have them, that's great. Even better is if you do end up making too much, you can always go and donate that to someone in need. I know in my neighborhood, there are folks that I feed on a regular basis because I just know they're there, and like we have that relationship that they'll know I bring them stuff when I have it. But we also in Austin have resources called free fridges, where basically if we have leftovers, we save old takeout containers and we'll fill those and go drop them off at the free fridges, because it gets a little dicey with food pantries with prepared foods. But there are people out there who need food and who will take that food from you rather than it going to waste, which just makes sense. And you can also get creative with your leftovers. Cranberry sauce is like, there's a reason we only eat it like once or twice a year, okay? It's not like the most incredible thing in the world. So if you get sick of it, you can turn it into something fun. Like last year I did cranberry muffins. I've also used it to make mocktails before, which is really fun. I like to do stuff like that. If you have hordes of mashed potatoes, which has happened to us before, you can turn it into gnocchi, and then it's something completely different. So you just have to get a little bit more creative with reducing the amount of food waste that you create during this time of year, and being aware of it and being conscious and like doing something about it is all I'm asking you to do. And it's the reminder to slow down and focus on the holidays being about community and about giving and about your friends, and if so necessary, your family. But yeah, I think I can't be the only person that around this time of year, more experiences with family can be stressful. Somehow the holidays for me always manage to be cozy and chaotic. That is my family life, my family dynamic. So there's my constant state of anxiety, and then there's my frustration with the increased level of consumerism and food waste, and then there's the family chaos on top of it all. And it makes me, let's just say, during this time of year, often unpleasant to be around, and I don't want to be that. So that's why I have been in therapy consistently for about 3 years now, and it's also why I'm currently trying out Grow Therapy. With the unfortunate events that happened at the beginning of this year, my therapist, bless her soul, I love her so much, but she left the country. And so I'm trying out Grow to see if I can find someone else that is suitable for me. Finding someone who can help me cope with this part of the year will be really helpful. Genuinely, they made the process so easy and like human and accessible, and you can use your insurance, which was really great for me. With my previous therapist, I was paying out of pocket and it wasn't cheap, but I was able to book my appointment within 2 days for only $30. And when I was searching, I could look specifically for what works with my schedule. Like I could search for nights or weekends, which made the process of finding someone that aligns with me so seamless. And Lord knows I'm not looking for another subscription cost, so there's no subscription. You just pay per session. And often with insurance, people pay as little as $21, and some are even completely free. And because everybody is in the database, you can go through and search for, like I said, what times work for your schedule, but you can also search for things that you need like active help with, or what you would prefer in therapists. So certain things like your religion, I look specifically for people who were willing and readily available for LGBTQ plus people for obvious reasons. I don't want a therapist that doesn't align with that. And I always look for people who can help me with CPTSD and anxiety, because that's like so much of what I'm working on all the time. And there are tons of virtual providers, but you can also search for in person. And if someone isn't the right fit, it makes it really easy to start that process over again and hopefully find someone who is. So if you are interested in trying it for yourself, especially during this chaotic time of year, you can scan the QR code, or you can go to growtherapy.co/Shelbizleee to try therapy for yourself today. Okay, now we have to talk about the Super Bowl of consumerism, which is the holiday gift giving. That is like the ultimate, like I said, we talked about the numbers. You already know. I don't need to convince you. It's a problem and we need to do better. And I want more people to understand that, like, not only is it a problem that consumerism is so much, like there's just so much like high amount of stuff being bought and given, but on top of that, it's the fact that the things that are given oftentimes are not things that people want or have asked for, and it's oftentimes things that are going to get thrown in the landfill or donated to a thrift store and eventually find their way to the landfill, or they sit in a closet somewhere because you feel bad about getting rid of it. I want more people to understand that part of it. And I talk about consumerism from so many different perspectives, okay? My original, like, the thing I care about most is the way consumerism impacts the planet. But if you can't talk to your family from that perspective, I think that there's also the added perspective of like wasting people's money, of pushing expectations onto people, like wanting gifts to be more thoughtful or something like that. I think not everybody can talk to their family and say, hey, I'm an environmentalist and I hate that consumerism is destroying the planet. I think there are so many different ways to approach this. And I do hope that if you agree with my sentiment that consumerism is awful for the planet, you find a way to communicate that to your family where they will actually hear you. Now, not to say that I'm an expert in that part. I was never successful in convincing my family to just like stop buying me gifts. I asked for years from an environmental perspective, finally gave up on that and started talking to them from a financial perspective, and that never got them to just stop. So eventually what I did with gifts is I would make a wish list, and I kept it all year. I still keep it for myself. I keep a thrifting wish list for myself, but I also keep a wish list of things that are like very specific that I want, that I've wanted throughout the year, and I know it's not something that's like possible for me to really get it secondhand, and I will throw it up on that wish list. That's how I approach it, because I was never able to convince my family to just like stop. Last year was the first year that my family ever decided no gifts. It was so funny because my mom we were in town for Thanksgiving, and she's like, guys, I have this idea. What if we stop buying each other gifts, because we're all grown and we don't really need anything? And literally my whole family looked around and went, why are you saying that? Like, Shelby hasn't been saying that for like a decade. My family decided last year to not do physical gifts, and we all agreed to go on a family vacation. So that's what we did instead of doing gifts that no one really wanted, and everybody wanted to go on a trip. So we went to Alaska, which was a lot better than getting a bunch of stuff that like I don't need and I don't really even want. It took my mom thinking that she came up with this idea to no longer buy gifts for her to be on board, despite me saying it for years. So whatever the strategy is for your family, you could try that. But after you try that, if you're still doing gifts, let's talk about the 3 main things that I focus on for gift giving, which is the things that people actually ask for, asking for a wish list and preparing that and keeping it like all year. Handmade gifts, because if truly someone doesn't want or need anything, making something for them makes it so much more special, especially if you're putting actual thought into it or making something useful. So after handmade and after wish list, I always recommend secondhand. All of my gifts, even if I'm following someone's wish list, pretty much always secondhand. Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, eBay, I shop at a lot. And for my little cousin who specifically always requests clothing, Poshmark, Depop, that's how I basically source everything for my gifts. And then if something is on someone's wish list and I can't get it secondhand, I will look for the thing that is high quality and that it's something they wanted and is useful. I don't buy junky gifts, things that I feel like people just don't need in general. I don't contribute to that stuff. So like if I look at a wedding registry and everything on there, I'm like, you definitely already have this and it feels ridiculous to replace it for no reason. I just don't participate in that sort of gift giving. And I do have a whole sustainable gift guide from last year if you want to go check it out for some ideas that could be helpful. And I'll also make one for this year. So if there's anything specific you want to see in that gift guide, let me know in the comments. Now, this same logic applies to decor, which is obviously like a huge part of the holiday consumerism, is the fast home decor. I find it so disturbing the way that these certain trends come and go every year and people are flocking to stores to buy whatever is cool on TikTok or Instagram. I think if you're someone who understands the problems with the consumerism, then just remove yourself from those things, right? Like I have sworn off shopping at places like Home Goods and Target and anything that is like fast fashion, but for home decor. If you're gonna add anything to your collection, I highly recommend looking for local artisans and quality made things, making things yourself. Okay, you can do it. It's not just like I'm some special kind of person who can make things for myself. Everyone can make stuff, and yes, it takes more time and more thought, but that's what makes it worth it. If you're gonna add something to your holiday decor collection, I think the best question to ask is like, would I have wanted this 5 years ago? Is this something that 5 years ago I would have been like, oh, that's cute? And it's not always like I would have loved it like I do in this moment, but 5 years ago, would you have thought it was ugly and like literally not touched it? Because I feel like if that's the case, what you're looking at is not timeless. And when we're adding things to our collection, if it's going to be sustainable and thoughtful and conscious, well, it should be something that you wouldn't have icked at 5 years ago. That's how I tend to think about things when I'm adding stuff to my collection. I try to only add things to my collection now that are heirlooms, or I always buy things secondhand. But if I buy anything new, it's got to be something that's like super high quality, handmade, something that I can pass down to not my kids, but my sister's kids. Anyway, the conversation around the whole Ralph Lauren Christmas trend is that like it's evoking nostalgia. It is supposed to make you think of Christmas from like the 80s, 90s, early 2000s in a traditional Christmas kind of way. It is preying on the things in our brain that look for nostalgia in times of hardship, which undoubtedly is what 2025 is an era of hardship. And so obviously the conversation shifts to nostalgia, and true nostalgia comes from pulling out the same stuff, having memories attached to those things, having people attached to those things, who gave it to you or who made it and who was there when you got it and who helped you hang it up in previous years, who helped you do the decorations, you know. All of that stuff is what nostalgia is, at least to me, and I think like that's pretty objective. But focusing on that part of it instead of focusing on what's gonna look cute on Instagram or in a picture this year, and really focusing more on higher quality, longer lasting, less trendy stuff. I like to encourage people to hand make things, but I'll also encourage you to go foraging. I think the fall, winter time is such a good time to forage for things like pine cones, leaves. You can press leaves, like I press my flowers, you can press leaves, and it's really fun. There's all kinds of stuff out there. Go get it, go dry it out, go press it. Make decor out of nature, which feels so much more cozy and I think nostalgic than anything you can buy at Target. The fact that the ugly Christmas sweater trend was born out of like, go into your grandma's closet and take her cheesy sweater from like the 70s, 80s, wear it, that was supposed to be the thing, to now it's like the cheapest, shittiest, fast fashion, like slave labor put into it, ugly Christmas sweaters that people are buying. I think it's because I make my own clothes now that quality matters to me so much more. But genuinely, when you go and buy something like that, that's something that you're only going to wear for like a season or two, and it has so much less like I don't know what the word is, but there's something there. It's like a word doesn't exist in the English language for it yet, I feel, but it's like the quality and the feeling of something that is vintage and meant to be cheesy versus something that was manufactured to be cheap and easy to mass manufacture. There's just something there, and I think that can be said for the ugly Christmas sweater part of it, but I think it can be said for anything. Like, knits are often made from polyester now, and vintage stuff is made usually from much higher quality stuff, and I think that can be a huge part of what's leading us to the way the holidays just don't feel as magical as they used to, because they've been made really cheap and shitty. And I think winter is like a beautiful time to slow down and take care of the things that you have, or maybe make something that you can keep for years to come that is a lot more special. I just need to sprinkle a little bit in here about the clothing around this time of year. And I think one of the best things you can do during the holiday season is find ways to create rituals and traditions that don't have to do with shopping, okay? I guess this tradition I made with my nephews is a little bit about shopping, because you do have to go to the thrift store for it, but that's just like an added bonus. A few years ago, I started with my nephews a Sandman competition. Basically, I take them to the thrift store. They can get 5 items, and then we go to the beach, and this is Texas, okay? So the beach in December is like 60 at the coolest, and it's full sun, so we're chilling. So we go and we do Sandman competitions, and they get to like design their own Sandman, and then we have a competition and we pick who wins, and their favorite part of the whole thing is destroying them at the end. You know, boys. But I think it's so much more fun to have a tradition and a ritual than it is to like just go to the mall. And the mall is madness, and I know not a lot of people go to the mall now, right? It's like online shopping. That's just not the same as like the boys looking forward to going to the beach to do the Sandman competition. There's just something so much more real and meaningful about that. Obviously, I think that's just a reminder to like create your own rituals. And I would love, please, oh my God, please, if you could ever do me anything, if you've ever done anything for me ever at all, let me know what traditions you have in the comments. Like, between like Thanksgiving and Christmas, what do you do that like celebrates Christmas? I know there's like caroling, which is not something I've ever done, but if you do anything that's like unique, like the Sandman thing, I think is something that I created, and it would be cool if other people did it, but it's very niche to my family, so I would love to hear stuff like that from you in the comments. And yes, I can see how I may be perceived as a Grinch, especially with this sweater, which is my favorite color right now. I got this sweater at a clothing swap. Maybe I should have said that. Clothing swaps and also home decor swaps. And this year I'm gonna do like a gifts people don't want swap, basically like a white elephant with gifts that people got that they don't want. I'm gonna be hosting that in Austin this year, so doing things like that is also a really sustainable option. Random tangent, side note. But I understand why I get the Grinch reputation, but I think that I've made really clear that I don't just opt out of the holiday season. I've just found ways that make them special for me and opt out of all of the problematic parts of it that have been so normalized that my channel seeks to denormalize. So I hope this video was helpful for you, gave you some ideas. I would love to know if it gave you any ideas and how you will take them and implement them into your life. And remember, until next time, you cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that you can do. Happy holidays.